we had a question from Yemin Bati. She said, how can we remain relaxed in such a critical lockdown situation? So what would your advice be to her?
I think the first thing to be thinking about is actually, what are you feeling in that moment? Are you feeling stressed? Are you feeling guilty? Are you feeling sad? And then once you know what you're feeling, you can really think about what you're thinking.
So another one here. And what are tips for people to do when they're on their own? I mean, if you are on your own, you haven't really got, neighbours, friends who you know, what can you do to stay connected?
There's lots of things you can do. You're only limited by your own imagination, really. So you can be thinking about actually who can you connect to online, how can you keep yourself busy, what can you be doing around your house, but also maintain the routine. It's really important that you have some semblance of normal, which is about what do you do when you get up, what do you do when you think about starting your day, how do you plan it, and also little things about challenging yourself. You might want to think about learning a new language. You might think about actually writing, learning a new musical instrument, all these different things you can do, which really help you use time.
What about neighbours then? I mean, we all need to get on with our neighbours, don't we? A few people have asked here about living in a small rented flat. What if your neighbour's making loads of noise? Their way of unwinding is just to put the music on loud. I mean, we're all supposed to be trying to get on, aren't we?
It is difficult, and I think it's about how we come together to live together. And I think the best way to manage that is communication. Speak to your neighbours. They're human, they're people, they're trying to manage it in the same way you are. And you have to remember that we're in a period of actually shared distress. So actually speaking to them, explaining the situation, explaining the impact it has upon you is going to be really important. And I think also just remembering that there has to be some allowances for some noise, because we are living in close proximity to one another, but really talking to them. And if need be, think about ways you can do things together, maybe through the online world, so you're not actually coming together, but find new ways of creating a contact with your neighbours and making friends with them rather than enemies.
CloudyXY.Amy asks, how long do you think schools will be closed for? Not one for you, obviously, but schools are closed for quite a while, it looks like. So with kids around especially, how can you keep them entertained?
Again, it's about being creative. I think it's about finding new things to do around the house, and even making things like household chores into games. So, folding laundry, sorting the laundry, tidying up parts of their room, reading stories, getting them to write a story, or even think about how they can create a video story or a video log of what they're doing, painting and drawing, and finding new ways to be. And I think children are brilliant in the sense they have such an imagination. So thinking out fun things to do. You may even be thinking about what can you do in the kitchen. So how can you guys cook together? Can you kind of challenge yourself to make a new recipe with things that you wouldn't normally put together, and actually have some nice time as a family? Do exercise, go for a walk, but also when you're going for a walk, be really mindful about the things that are around you. So how many birds can you count, or how many blackbirds do you see? So there's lots of things you can do to make the time you have together really interesting. So you're not just walking, but you're being really mindful of the things around you and taking in nature and really appreciating the fact that we have the opportunity to be outside. And actually it's quite an interesting experience. Less cars on the road, less noise, you can really hear and connect with nature, and that's a lovely experience.
So I've got a question here from Nahid 1707. He says, do you recommend we FaceTime and video talk to others if possible? I mean, I assume given technology's here now, we can do exactly this. I'd imagine yes, as much as you can. It's safe to do that if it works.
Most definitely, I think so. But I'd also encourage people to use the telephone the regular way, because we are spending a lot of time in front of the screens. It's about managing and monitoring how much time we have in front of our computers and our devices. And actually having a telephone conversation when you can't actually see the person does actually bring a different type of conversation to the front. So definitely telephone conversations, video conferencing, texting, yes, but also the regular telephone is good.
Yeah, I mean, someone's asked here, Aliik Simon has asked, how do I support my elderly mother to be more mobile? Because this has really affected her mental health. So I guess some people can't really use technology anyway, so they need a bit of an old school pickup, don't they? Pick me up.
Yes, most definitely. And I think with mobility, it's the little things. I think maybe helping someone to get up, move around, maybe go to a different room for a cup of tea, or just go to a different room for a different part of the room for a bit of change of scenery. It's the little things that help us keep moving. We don't have to be doing major things, and the little things can have a big impact.
Yeah. Someone's mentioned meditation here as well. This is
yes.
Happy Milk again. Obviously, New York doing a lot of meditation. Would you recommend that?
Yes, meditation, mindfulness, I think really being in the moment, because when you think about being anxious or having low mood, your mind is racing somewhere, either in the future or in the past. And it's really about how do we keep ourselves centered, and mindfulness like deep breathing, body scans, muscle relaxation, progressive muscular relaxation, I should say, are really good ways of helping us just get connected with our bodies and really know what's going on. So mindfulness is a huge thing, and I really encourage everyone to do that. And in line with mindfulness, people might want to think about doing something like yoga or even Tai Chi, different forms of actually connecting with the self and the body and really engaging and being in the moment without any judgment or emotions.
Sure. Also, I mean, I know you're not a doctor, but so I've got a question here from official Perry TDG, who says, what should we do if we can't stay 2 meters away from people? Now, I know the advice is you have to, but of course, you're walking down the street, you walk past someone, you know, there is that kind of anxiety now, isn't there? That if you do sort of bump into someone, then that's a real worry for people, isn't it?
It is a real worry for you. The main thing is to try and, as much as you can, keep the regulated or the requested distance, but also just be thinking about your hygiene. As soon as you can, wash your hands, think about changing your clothes. If you've got hand sanitizer, using that. And it's really about being sensible about how often you go out, but also where you go as well. So try to avoid places where you may actually bump into someone, but actually keep that 2 meters apart.
Yeah, I've got one here from Vanessa, and I'm going to wave Vanessa because she says, I'm so scared I'm alone indoors. I mean, I can't imagine how scary it is for some people. What advice would you have for people that are sort of on their own in a flat maybe and really just can't get out?
The main thing is that you're not alone, even though it feels like you're alone, and maybe in the context of being in your flat, you're alone. But really, there's so many other people in a similar situation as you are online. So I think it's about connecting to social forums, Twitter. There's lots of other forums where people who are sharing their own experiences, and think about how can I develop a different type of community? What can I do? What can I be interested in? So, you know, there's group exercise classes going on. There's people doing Zumba classes or lessons, yoga. I've seen people singing together, reading poetry or reading plays together. So there's lots of things you can be doing with the help of technology and the internet, so you don't feel as alone. But also in your flats, think about the things that you've been wanting to do but never actually managed to do, like declutter that drawer, go through your wardrobe. And it's a good time to really think about sort of decluttering and sort of streamlining our lives and think about what can I donate to charity or what might I want to sell in future. And these are things that help us keeping occupied and distracted and help us make most of the time that's going on at the moment.
All right, I'm going to say hi again to Vanessa because I don't want you to feel like you're on your own. And do tune into BBC London. We're trying to offer some good tips on BBC One as well about what you can do to stay motivated, active. I've got some questions here coming as people have emailed me as well. Someone said, I've got ADHD and I'm struggling to work from home.
Yes.
I mean, obviously there are people with that, you know, anxiety, that sort of thing. I mean, how can they cope with this sort of thing?
I think taking regular breaks is important, because the one thing about working from home is that we don't have the distractions that we have in the office. So you don't necessarily go to the kitchen and see someone and have like a 5-minute conversation. You haven't got to go to the photocopier. You are very focused, and it can feel very intense just sitting in one place. So I think having regular breaks, thinking about having micro lifts, so making that nice cup of coffee when you might have only made a cup of tea, or actually thinking about what can I have for my lunch. But also a great thing I think with ADHD is also mindfulness, helping to calm and slow down the mind. We're so used to operating and working at such a fast speed. It's really about helping to calm the mind and focusing. And mindfulness can be a really effective strategy for people with ADHD, just to help focus their mind. A quick 5-minute one, it doesn't have to be long, but it can make a huge difference.
Okay, and someone's asked as well about social media. I'm trying to cut down on social media. What can I do? I mean, me and my family, we bought a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, they're all sold out now. I mean, it must be pretty tempting, though, just to sit on your phone all day long.
It is very tempting to sit on your phone, because there's so many things out there. I think it's important to think about what you're sort of searching and what you're going on and why. And it might be you need to keep up to date with the news, so you just limit how much news you kind of get and focus on particular bulletins. But it's also about thinking about there's other things that you can be doing: reading, writing, listening to audiobooks, having a conversation, challenging yourself to be with the people around you differently. So although social media is really good, it's about thinking about, why am I on social media at this moment in time and what do I want to get from it? And if you find yourself mindlessly scrolling, just stop, put it down, take a breath.
Yeah, I mean, Caden Horsley 100 here says you could make online friends. So you can make friends, but I suppose the point is to not just be, as you say, on it all day long. Let's have a look. What else have we got here? Questions. talking about anxiety again, just quickly, it says, and I think you've touched on this really, it keeps coming in waves. How do I get myself up again when I do hit that low? I guess you talk about those mini highs, you talked about mini kind of rewards.
Yeah, and it can be a very difficult thing to experience. One of the things that's really helpful is to allow yourself to feel the waves of anxiety. What you're experiencing is a normal response to an abnormal situation. And I think we can be really hard on ourselves about how we should respond. Where it's about noticing what's happening in your body, and then thinking about actually, how can I calm myself? So in that moment, deep breathing is really good. Thinking about how your muscles are going, stretching and really loosening yourself up. Even going for a walk around your flat might be something, and just noticing the wave of anxiety. And remember, it will pass. Although it feels like a very difficult mind state, it's time limited and it will always pass.
And I guess just to remind people to have confidence, you can go out, you can walk to the shops, you can go and buy some groceries, that sort of thing. This is about really trying to minimize that social interaction. Don't go anywhere where there's lots of people. I mean, shops now have sort of one in, one out policies, don't they? So people can sort of feel confident to go out. So I think there is that feeling creeping in that, oh, I don't even want to go outside because I don't want people judging me, thinking I shouldn't be out here. But if you can still go out for a walk, for a bit of exercise. That is the advice, isn't it? And it's really important.
To get out, to move, to exercise. You know, we are living in our homes now. We're not getting the exercise even that we've got from our commute. So it's really important that we do keep active, and anxiety can be often kind of managed through physical exercise. So that can be another thing that can be very helpful as well.
How are you coping anyway? What are you doing in your household, if you don't mind me asking? Are you getting out and about? Are you at home?
I'm keeping a routine. I'm making sure I get up, make my bed, get dressed, have my breakfast. I make sure I go to a separate place in my home. So I've got an office space that's different to my home space where I kind of chill and relax. I take breaks during the day. I do some exercise. I probably sleep a little bit too much, but at the moment, I'm tired, so that's okay.
Okay. Well, I hope you're doing well. And when we are going to get through this, when things start to sort of go back to normal, do you think there might be some sort of changes to the way we do things? I mean, here at work now, at the BBC, we're doing all our calls on video conferencing. I mean, it seems to work really well because people could just come in from wherever they are. You don't have to be in the office. It means that everyone is in. Do you think there might be some changes to the way we kind of work going forward?
I hope so, because we've got an opportunity to really do things differently. We've been stuck in some ways of working, and it goes in this way, but we're seeing we can be really creative, we can be really flexible, and we can actually improve so many people's lives in different ways. So I hope there's some big changes coming, and I really hope we can take the lessons that we're learning, that people can work really well together as a community, as a global community, and take things forward when things start to stabilize and balance out again.
Okay, well, let's just have a couple more minutes just to sum up what you've told everyone before we end. So just sum up again, just the key points really. Now we are all socially isolating. How do you stay mentally healthy and active and get through this?
One of the things you can do is reframe it. So rather than social isolating, we're physical distancing. That's it. But there's so many ways we can connect with each other. It's really about looking after yourself, making sure you eat well, making sure you sleep well, maintain a routine, thinking about being productive and achieving things. It's about also being aware of what you're feeling and allowing yourself to feel things, because we're going through a very difficult time, but also challenging yourself to use your time constructively. Time will pass no matter what we do, but you have control about what you do and how you use the time. Do the things that have been on your to-do list, spend time with people you wouldn't normally talk to through using the video, through telephones to chat. Speaking to older people as well is really good. You know, they have a valuable gift of history to give us, and find out what things they've been doing and stories that they've been sharing, and kind of have a laugh as well. This is such a difficult time right now, and humour is a really good antidote to anxiety when you're feeling trapped. Watch a funny film, watch a stand-up comedy, even do it yourself. There's so many things you can do. You're only limited by your own imagination, and you can control so much more than you think.